Chapter 1. The Paperwork Party. The envelope sat on Jada's marble kitchen island like a piece of toxic waste. Divorce papers. It had taken months of legal wrangling with Damon's public defender and a lot of fuck you letters sent back and forth to the county jail. But here it was. "Bitch, stop staring at it like it's a ghost and sign the damn thing," Keisha said, leaning against the counter. She was sipping a lemon drop martini, looking radiant in a silk robe. "I already signed my life away to that man once. Watching you sign him away forever is my version of a spa day." Jada picked up the pen. Her hands didn't shake. "I just can't believe I almost let a nigga with a commissary budget ruin my credit and my edges." "We all get bamboozled once, sis," Maya chimed in from the living room, where she was blowing up gold balloons that read officially single. "But today we celebrate the death of a bum and the birth of a baddie." Jada scrawled her name across the bottom line with a flourish. The ink was barely dry before she slammed the folder shut. "It's over. I'm officially Jada Robinson again. No more Mrs. Liar Liar Pants on Fire. Amen." Keisha cheered, clinking her glass against Jada's. "Now get your ass upstairs. We're going to the Velvet Room tonight. My cousin Deshaun is promoting, and he said the ballers are out in full force. We ain't looking for husbands, but we sure as hell looking for a reason to act a fool." Jada felt a weight lift off her chest. She wasn't just signing papers. She was signing a lease on a new life. The grief was gone, replaced by a hunger for something real, and maybe a little bit of trouble. Chapter 2. The Transformation. Upstairs, Jada's bedroom looked like a hurricane had hit a Sephora. Clothes were everywhere. She wanted to look like new money and no problems. "I think I'm gonna wear the red one," Jada said, holding up a dress that was essentially 3 strings and a prayer. "If you don't put that please arrest me dress on right now," Keisha laughed, helping her zip it up. "You've been hiding that body under stress and wife clothes for too long. Tonight we let the girls breathe." Jada looked in the mirror. She didn't see the woman who stayed up crying for a man who was currently eating mystery meat in a cell. She saw a woman whose skin was glowing, whose hair was laid to the gods, and whose heart was finally under new management. "You look good, Jay," Maya said, walking in. "But we gotta hurry. Tasha and her new boo are already at the club, and she said the line is wrapped around the block." Apparently, word got out that the Everglow queens are back on the market. "Let 'em wait," Jada said, spraying a cloud of perfume that cost more than Damon's monthly car note. A queen is never late. Everyone else is simply early. They headed out to Maya's Range Rover, the bass from a City Girls track vibrating the windows. The city lights looked brighter. The air felt cleaner. Jada took a deep breath. She was single, she was fine, and she was ready to see what the world had to offer a woman who finally knew her worth. Chapter 3. The Velvet Room. The club was a sea of flashing lights, heavy bass, and the scent of expensive weed and designer cologne. As soon as the trio walked in, the VIP section seemed to lean in their direction. "Section 4, ladies," Deshaun, the promoter, yelled over the music. He gave Keisha a hug and dapped Jada up. "Glad to see you out, Jay. You look like $1 million tax-free." "I feel like it, Deshaun," Jada shouted back, moving her hips to the beat. They settled into their section, bottles of Ace of Spades already arriving with sparklers. Jada looked around, enjoying the view. For years, she'd been looking at the world through the lens of "Does Damon approve?" Tonight, the only approval she needed was her own. "Yo, don't look now," Tasha whispered, leaning in close to Jada's ear. "But that man at the bar has been staring at you since we sat down. And honey, he ain't just a snack, he's a whole Thanksgiving dinner with leftovers." Jada glanced over. Standing at the bar was a man who stood at least 6 feet 4 inches, dressed in a crisp black t-shirt that struggled to contain his shoulders. He had a neat beard, skin like dark chocolate, and eyes that looked like they knew a few secrets. He wasn't flashy, but he carried a quiet power that made the loud niggas in the room look like children. He caught her eye and didn't look away. He didn't smirk or throw a sign. He just raised his glass in a slow, respectful toast. "Lord have mercy," Jada muttered, taking a quick gulp of her drink. "I think my heart just skipped a beat, and I don't even think it was the Hennessy." Chapter 4. The Introduction. The man from the bar didn't rush over like a thirsty fan. He waited until the song slowed down, then made his move. He walked with a limp that Jada would later find out was a souvenir from a tour in the Marines. A warrior's walk, as Keisha called it. "Good evening," he said, his voice a deep, smooth baritone that made Jada's toes curl in her heels. "I'm Julian." "Jada," she replied, trying to keep her cool girl mask on. "You usually spend your Friday nights staring at strangers, Julian?" He chuckled, a warm sound that cut through the club noise. Only when the stranger looks like she's celebrating a victory. You got an aura about you tonight. Like you just got a heavy load off your back. Jada raised an eyebrow. You a psychic or just observant? A little bit of both, Julian said. But mostly, I'm just a man who knows when he's looking at something special. My sister owns the bakery next to your salon. I've seen you through the window a few times, but you always looked occupied. I was, Jada said, her voice turning firm. But the position is currently vacant. Permanently. Glad to hear it, Julian said, leaning against the railing of the VIP section. I don't play games, Jada. And I don't chase drama. I just wanted to tell you that you're the most beautiful woman in this room. If you're ever in the mood for a conversation that doesn't require a strobe light and 100 decibel bass, I'd love to take you to dinner. He handed her a simple white business card. No, Mr. Big Pimpin', just Julian Vance, structural engineer. An engineer? Keisha whispered loudly from behind them. Girl, sign me up for some structural integrity. Chapter 5, The No Strobe Date. Jada stared at Julian's business card for 3 days before she sent a text. She was used to you up and send a pic energy. Julian was different. When she finally messaged him, he responded within minutes. How about 7 p.m. at Sage and Salt? No strobe lights, I promise. Sage and Salt? Bitch, that's the place where the appetizers cost more than my electric bill, Keisha said, hyped as she helped Jada with her makeup. This nigga got career money, not hustle money. There's a difference. When Julian pulled up, it wasn't in a loud, flashy sports car meant to scream for attention. He was in a blacked-out, pristine SUV that smelled like sandalwood and success. He hopped out and actually walked to her door, opening it with a slight bow. You look incredible, Jada, he said, his eyes lingering on her face. The dinner was easy. For the first time, Jada wasn't performing. She didn't have to stroke an ego or hide her opinions. Julian talked about his time in the military, his passion for building bridges, and his love for his mama's cooking. I'm not looking for a project, Jada, Julian said, reaching across the table to touch her hand. I'm looking for a partner. I want a woman who is her own sun, not someone who needs me to provide the light. Jada felt something she hadn't felt in years, safety. It wasn't the wildfire of Damon, it was a steady, warm hearth. Chapter 6, The Comedian and the Queen. While Jada was on her sophisticated date, Keisha was at the local comedy club with Maya. They were there to see Pork Chop, a local legend known for roasting the front row. Oh, look at this fine-ass queen in the front, Pork Chop yelled, pointing his mic at Keisha. You look like you just got your settlement check and told your man to kick rocks. What's your name, beautiful? Keisha, she yelled back, laughing. And you right about the man part. Keisha, I love a woman with a name that sounds like a bank account being opened, Pork Chop joked. He spent the next 10 minutes making her the star of the show. After the set, Pork Chop, whose real name was Marcus, approached their table. He was shorter than Keisha, dressed in a loud tracksuit, and had a smile that was infectious. Listen, Marcus said, dropping the stage persona. I know I'm a fool up there, but I'm serious about you. You got a vibe that's pure gold. Can I get your number, or do I gotta do another 30 minutes of material? Keisha laughed so hard she almost spilled her drink. You're ghetto as hell, Marcus. But you're funny. Give me your phone. Chapter 7, The Ghetto Brunch. Sunday arrived, and the crew met up for the legendary boisterous brunch at a spot called Mimosas and Mayhem. It was the kind of place where the DJ played 90s R&B. The chicken was seasoned with enough salt to stop a heart, and the mimosas came in literal buckets. Jada, Keisha, Maya, and Tasha were joined by Marcus, who wouldn't leave Keisha's side, and Julian. The contrast was hilarious. Julian was sipping black coffee and watching the chaos with a grin, while Marcus was standing on a chair trying to start a Soul Train line. Yo, Julian, Marcus yelled. You too stiff, bruh. You gotta let the spirit of the Henny move you. I'll pass, Marcus, Julian laughed. I'm just enjoying the view. He looked at Jada, his eyes full of genuine affection. The table was a mess of laughter, loud talking, and remember when stories. When the song Before I Let Go came on, the whole restaurant exploded. Keisha was leading the electric slide between the tables, her silk scarf flying. This is it, Jada whispered to herself. This was the life she wanted. Surrounded by people who loved her loudly, in a room full of joy, with a man who didn't mind her being the loudest one in the room. Chapter 8, Blah 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 blah. The brunch was at its peak when the front door of the restaurant swung open. A group of men walked in, and the atmosphere in Jada's section shifted instantly. It was Terrence, Jada's male cousin, looking stressed, followed by a few guys she recognized from Damon's old circle. "Jada," Terrence said, walking over. "I didn't know you'd be here. I gotta tell you something before you see it on the news." Jada's heart skipped a beat. "What is it, Terrence?" "Damon's been moved to the county jail for his appeal hearing. He's been calling everyone, Jada. He's telling people he's coming home on a technicality and that he's coming to claim his wife. The table went silent. Keisha stopped dancing. Marcus stopped joking. Julian, however, didn't move. He slowly stood up, his 6 feet 4 inches frame casting a shadow over the table. "He can claim whatever he wants from a jail cell," Julian said, his voice as cold as ice. "But Jada isn't his wife anymore. She's a free woman, and if he thinks he's stepping a foot near her, he's going to find out that some bridges aren't meant to be crossed." Jada looked at Julian. He wasn't yelling, he wasn't cursing, and he wasn't acting like a tough guy. He was simply stating a fact. For the first time, Jada knew she didn't have to fight the wildfire alone. She had a mountain standing behind her. Chapter 9, The Jailhouse Jitters. Damon's technicality was the talk of the neighborhood for 48 hours. Rumor had it a witness had gone missing, and his lawyer was moving for a mistrial. The news hit Jada like a bucket of ice water, but the chill didn't last long. She wasn't that scared girl on the porch anymore. "He really thinks he's just gonna walk out and pick up where he left off?" Jada asked, pacing her living room. "That nigga is delusional," Keisha said, filing her nails. "He thinks life is a movie where he's the hero. In reality, he's the villain that gets killed off in the first 15 minutes of the sequel. Besides, you got Julian now. Damon is a flickering candle. Julian is a goddamn power plant." Julian was indeed a presence. He didn't hover, but he made sure Jada knew he was there. He sent a security team to the salon, just for peace of mind, and checked in every evening. He didn't ask her to hide, he told her to keep shining. "I'm not gonna let a ghost haunt my house, Jada," Julian told her over the phone. "Focus on your business. Let the lawyers and the lions handle the rest." Chapter 10, Marcus the Bodyguard. While Julian was being the stoic protector, Marcus, Porkchop, took a different approach to protecting Keisha. He showed up at her house wearing a camouflage tactical vest he clearly bought at an army surplus store, over a neon orange tracksuit. "What in the hell are you wearing, Marcus?" Keisha asked, doubling over with laughter at her front door. "This is Special Ops Porkchop, baby," Marcus said, dead serious while holding a walkie-talkie. "I heard that bum Damon might be sniffing around. I'm out here patrolling the perimeter. I got my eyes on every squirrel and every suspicious-looking Honda Accord." "Marcus, you're 5'5" and your only weapon is a joke about fat mamas," Keisha wheezed. "And it's a lethal joke, Keisha. I'll roast that nigga until he cries back to his mama." Marcus did a clumsy tactical roll onto her porch, accidentally knocking over a potted plant. Despite the ghetto theatrics, Keisha felt a warmth in her chest. Damon had used fear to keep her in line. Marcus used laughter to keep her safe. It was the first time a man had made her feel protected without making her feel small. Chapter 11, The Courthouse Showdown. The day of the appeal hearing arrived. Jada decided she wasn't going to hide. She walked into the courthouse with Keisha on one side and Julian on the other. She wore a power suit the color of midnight and heels that sounded like gunshots on the marble floor. When the bailiff brought Damon into the room, he looked ragged. The king had lost weight and his eyes were hollow. He scanned the room until he found Jada. He tried to smirk, that old predatory grin that used to make her weak. But Jada didn't flinch. She stared back with a cold, diamond-hard gaze. Damon's eyes then drifted to Julian, who was sitting beside her, his arms folded across his massive chest. The smirk on Damon's face vanished. He recognized a real man when he saw one, and he knew he was outmatched. The judge didn't waste time. Motion for appeal denied. The witness was located, and the evidence remains uncontested. Take the defendant back to the holding cell. As they led him away, Damon lost it. "Jada, you're mine. You hear me? This nigga can't have you. I made you." Jada stood up, leaning over the wooden railing. "You didn't make me, Damon. You just occupied my time while I was waiting for the real thing. Enjoy the mystery meat, bitch." Chapter 12, The Real Glow. The victory at the courthouse called for a celebration, but not a club night. Julian took Jada back to his place, a quiet, beautiful home overlooking the river. There were no sparklers, no loud bass, just the sound of the water and the crackle of a fire. "You okay?" Julian asked, handing her a glass of wine. "I feel light," Jada said, leaning her head on his shoulder. "For so long, I thought love was supposed to be a battle. I thought if it didn't hurt or make me crazy, it wasn't real. Julian turned her to face him. That's the lie they tell people who don't want to grow up. Real love is a foundation, Jada. It's the place you go when the world gets loud. You're the strongest woman I know, but you don't have to be strong every second with me. He kissed her then, not a frantic, desperate kiss, but a slow, deep promise. In that moment, the Everglow finally made sense. It wasn't the wildfire that destroyed everything. It was the steady, golden light of a woman who had finally found her peace. Back at Keisha's, Marcus was accidentally setting off his own car alarm while trying to impress her with a security sweep, and the sounds of laughter filled the street. The queens were home, the bums were gone, and the real life was just beginning. Chapter 13. The Bye-Bye Bum Vacation. After the courthouse drama, the girls decided they needed more than just a brunch. They needed a whole different zip code. "Pack your bags, ladies," Jada announced in the group chat. "We're going to Montego Bay. First class, all-inclusive, and 0 niggas with pending court dates allowed." The airport was a scene. Keisha arrived with 6 suitcases, wearing a wide-brimmed hat and oversized sunglasses like she was fleeing the paparazzi. Marcus was there too, looking heartbroken. He had draped himself over Keisha's luggage like a human shield. "Keisha, baby, who's gonna protect you from the Caribbean pirates?" Marcus wailed, holding a bag of Cheetos. "They got giant crabs and rum punch that'll make you forget my name." "Marcus, hush." Keisha laughed, kissing him on his forehead. "You stay here and keep patrolling the neighborhood in your tactical vest. I'll bring you back a magnet." Julian, meanwhile, just pulled Jada aside and handed her a thick envelope. "Spend it, enjoy it, and call me when you land. I'll be waiting at the gate when you get back." He kissed her long and deep, making the TSA agents look away. Jada boarded that plane feeling like a brand new woman. No baggage, just vibes. Chapter 14. Tropical Turmoil. The moment they touched down in Jamaica, the humidity hit them like a warm hug, and the ghetto-fabulous energy was turned up to 10. They checked into a villa that looked like it belonged to a drug lord's mistress. White marble floors, an infinity pool, and a private chef. "I'm about to act so brand new nobody's gonna recognize me," Tasha said, immediately stripping down to her bikini. By the second day, they were at a local beach party. The bass from the sound system was so heavy it was moving the sand. Maya, usually the quiet one, was 3 rum punches in and was currently winning a dance-off against a local guy who looked like he modeled for fitness magazines. "Go ahead, Maya," Jada screamed, recording it for the gram. But the piece didn't last long. A group of girls from back home, the ones who used to hang with Damon's old crew, spotted them. They started whispering and pointing. "Look at the Everglow girls." One of them sneered loud enough for Keisha to hear. "Living it up on blood money, I bet." Keisha stopped her drink midair. She slowly took off her sunglasses and handed her purse to Jada. "Jada, hold my bag. I think the island breeze just brought some trash onto the beach, and I need to clear it out." Chapter 15. The Sand and the Skirmish. The beach beef escalated quickly. The other girls, led by a woman named Shay who used to date Damon's cousin, thought they could bully the queens on vacation. "You think you're better than us because you got a man with a degree now." Shay stepped up to Keisha, smelling like cheap coconut oil and jealousy. "You still a hood rat from the block, Keisha. Don't forget that." Keisha didn't even raise her voice. She just stepped into Shay's personal space. "I never forgot where I came from, honey. That's why I still know how to drag a bitch across the sand without ruining my pedicure. Now, you can either walk away and enjoy your little budget excursion, or you can find out why they call me the Queen of the Feds." Shay reached for Keisha's hair, but she was too slow. Maya, suddenly sobered up by the adrenaline, stepped in and blocked her arm. "Not today, boo-boo," Maya hissed. The security at the beach party moved in before it could turn into a full-on brawl, but the message was sent. The Everglow crew wasn't to be messed with. They walked back to their cabana with their heads high, while the whole beach clapped for the show. "Ghetto-fabulous at its finest," Jada laughed, ordering another round of shots. Chapter 16. Maya's Island Love. The next morning, the villa's private chef, a tall, silent man named Kofi with locks that hit his waist and a voice like velvet, was preparing breakfast. Maya had been staring at him all morning, her face turning 5 shades of red. "You like the ackee and saltfish?" Kofi asked, his eyes lingering on Maya. "I love it," Maya whispered, suddenly shy. "I saw you dancing yesterday," he said, a slow grin spreading across his face. "You have a lot of fire in you. Most American women come here and act like they're in a movie. You act like you're finally home." The rest of the trip, Maya was busy. While Jada and Keisha were out shopping for duty-free diamonds, Maya was at the local markets with Kofi, learning about herbs and island history. She wasn't just finding a vacation fling. She was finding a man who didn't care about the drama back in the States. On the final night, as they sat on the balcony watching the sunset, Maya sighed. "I think I'm staying an extra week, y'all. Kofi invited me to his family's farm in the mountains." "Get your life, Maya." Keisha cheered. "We came for the recovery, but you found the redemption." Jada smiled, looking at her ring finger. She was ready to go home to Julian, but she was glad her family was finally finding their own light. Chapter 17, The Homecoming. The flight back from Jamaica was filled with laughter and the smell of duty-free perfume. Jada stepped off the plane feeling like she'd shed a second skin. Maya stayed behind in the islands for her mountain retreat, with Kofi, leaving Jada and Keisha to face the concrete jungle alone. As they walked through the sliding glass doors of arrivals, the Welcome Home committee was already doing the most. Marcus was standing on a luggage cart holding a cardboard sign that said Keisha's bodyguard is back, in glitter markers. Julian was standing right next to him, looking calm and powerful in a gray suit, holding a single perfect long-stemmed rose. "You look like you found some peace, Jada," Julian said, pulling her into his chest. He didn't care about the cameras or the crowd. He just held her like he never wanted to let go. "I found myself, Julian," she whispered. Meanwhile, Marcus was trying to do a security pat-down on Keisha's suitcases. "I gotta make sure you didn't smuggle no Caribbean boyfriends in here, Keisha. My heart can't take the competition." "Boy, if you don't get away from my Gucci bag," Keisha laughed, throwing her arms around his neck. The ghetto-fabulous energy was back in full effect, and for the first time, it didn't feel like a mask. It felt like home. Chapter 18, Men's Night Out. A week later, Julian decided it was time to vet the men in the circle. He invited Marcus and Terrence over to his man cave for cigars and top-shelf bourbon. It was the most mismatched group in history. A structural engineer, a ghetto-famous comedian, and a street-smart cousin. "So, Marcus," Julian said, cutting the end off a cigar, "you're serious about Keisha? Because that woman has been through enough for 3 lifetimes." Marcus stopped joking for a second, his expression turning uncharacteristically soft. "Look, I know I'm the funny guy. I know I'm loud and I dress like a highlighter. But Keisha is the first woman who looked at me and didn't see a punchline. I'd take a bullet for her, Julian. And if I can't take a bullet, I'll definitely roast the shooter until he hates himself." Terrence laughed, dapping Marcus up. "He's solid, Julian. He's been checking on my mama and the kids every day since the girls left. He's ghetto, but he's gold." Julian nodded, a silent respect forming. "Good, because these women have been through the wildfire. It's our job to make sure they only ever see the glow." Chapter 19, The Grand Opening. The day finally arrived for the grand reopening of Everglow, the boutique. The salon had been transformed from a neighborhood shop into a high-end luxury sanctuary. There was a flower wall, a champagne bar, and gold leaf lettering on the windows. The whole neighborhood showed up. Jada's mother was there, handing out appetizers and bragging about her business owner daughter. Maya had flown back from Jamaica, looking tan and glowing, with Kofi on her arm, who was immediately a hit with the ladies. Just as Jada was about to cut the ribbon, a delivery driver pulled up with a massive arrangement of black roses. The card read, "Enjoy the view while it lasts." The room went quiet. Jada felt a momentary chill, but then she felt Julian's hand on the small of her back. She didn't tear up. She didn't shake. She simply handed the card to Marcus. "Marcus, you need some new material for your set tonight?" Jada asked. Marcus read the card, looked at the roses, and tossed them into the trash can by the curb. "I don't tell jokes about trash, Jada. It's bad for the brand." The crowd erupted in cheers. Jada snipped the ribbon, and the doors to her future swung wide open. Chapter 20, The Real Love. That evening, after the party had wound down and the champagne bubbles had settled, Jada and Julian sat on the steps of her new shop. The city was humming around them, but the space between them was quiet and still. "You did it, Jada," Julian said, looking at the sign above the door. "You built something beautiful out of the ashes." "We did it," she corrected him. "You showed me that I didn't have to be a victim to be a hero. You showed me that real love doesn't scream, it listens." Julian reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. This wasn't a rooftop lounge stunt. There were no cameras, no sparklers, and no audience. It was just a man, a woman, and a promise. "I don't want to be your wildfire, Jada. I want to be your home. Will you marry me? For real this time. No secrets, no lies, just us." Jada looked at the ring, a simple, elegant emerald cut that caught the streetlights. She thought about the porch, the mall, the jailhouse, and the beach. She thought about the woman she used to be, and the queen she was now. "Yes," she whispered, her voice thick with happy tears. "Yes, Julian. 1,000 times yes." As they kissed under the Everglow sign, the ghost of Damon faded into nothingness. The recovery was over. The rain had begun. The end.